Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Vrajadana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajadana Randana Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Vrajadana Randana Yashodanandana Vrajadana Randana Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jamuna Tira Vanasari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Madhava Radha, Madhava Radhe Radha. Jaya Radha, Madhava Radha, Madhava Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gaura Premanandi, Dayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa, Privrajgacharya Stotra Satta Sri Simad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhai Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Iskan BBT, Founder Charya's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Samavata Bhakta Vrinda ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Sarakaya Taksurandilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Mat Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudidayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the Supremost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati tamashloke bhaktira bhavati naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamhitam Utamashloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Maha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam yatkripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam class. My God, perfect timing again. Twice in a row. If you do that one more time, you'll break a record, because the next time will be a little more challenging. New location. Today we are having this background. We don't know what background will be there tomorrow morning. It will be a new background. We are shifting today to the east side, closer to the Jalangi. So we are continuing from canto number 2. Canto number 2 is entitled The Cosmic Manifestation. Cosmic Manifestation. And we are in chapter 1, entitled The First Step in God Realization. And today's text is number 15. 15. A very healthy purport. 2-page purport this morning. Okay. Anta Kale Tu Purusha Agate Gata Sadvasaha Chindyad Asanga Shastrena Spriham Dehe Anu Ye Cha Tam Anta Kale Tu Purusha Agate Gata Sadvasaha Chindyad Asanga Shastrena Spriham Dehe Nuye Chatam Antakale Tu Purusha Agate Gata Sadvasaha Agate Gata Sadvasaha Chindyad Asanga Shastrena Spriham Dehe Nuye Chatam Antakale Tu Purusha Agate Gata Sadvasaha Chindyad Asanga Shastrena Spriham Dehe Nuya Spriham Dehe Nuye Chatam Antakale Tu Purusha Agate Gata Sadvasaha Chindyada Sangha Shastrena Spriham Dehe Nuye Chatam
Antakale tu Purusha Agate Gata Sadvasaha Chindyada Sangha Shastrena
Spriham Dehe Nuye Chatam Antakale tu Purusha Agate Gata Sadvasaha Chindyada Sangha Shastrena Spriham Dehe Nuye Chatam Antakale. At the last stage of life. Two. But. Purushaha. A person. Agate. Having arrived. Gata Sadvasaha. Without any fear. Of death. Chindyad. Must cut off. Asanga. Non-attachment. Shastrena. By the weapon of. Spriham. All desires. Dehe. In the matter of the material tabernacle. Anu. Pertaining. Yea. All that. Cha. Also. Tam. Them. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. At the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death. One should be bold enough not to be afraid of death. That's a bold statement, actually. But one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it, and all desires thereof. Translation repeated again. Hare Krishna. At the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough. One should be bold enough not to be afraid of death. But one must cut off all attachments to the material body and everything pertaining to it and all desires thereof. Purport. The foolishness of gross materialism is that people think of making a permanent settlement in this world, although it is a settled fact that one has to give up everything here that has been created by valuable human energy. Great statesmen, scientists, philosophers, etc., who are foolish, without any information of the spirit soul, think that this life of a few years only is all in all, and that there is nothing more after death. This poor fund of knowledge, even in the so-called learned circles of the world, is killing the vitality of human energy. And the awful result is being keenly felt. And yet, the foolish materialistic men do not care about what is going to happen in the next life. The preliminary instruction in the Bhagavad-Gita is that one should know that the identity of the individual living entity is not lost even after the end of this present body, which is nothing but an outward dress only. As one changes an old garment, so the individual living being also changes his body. And this change of body is called death. Death is therefore a process of changing the body at the end of the duration of the present life. An intelligent person must be prepared for this and must try to have the best type of body in the next life. What is the best type of body in the next life? The best type of body is a spiritual body. Correct answer. You must be reading some books. You must have read Bhagavad-Gita. The best type of body is a spiritual body, which is obtained by those who go back to the kingdom of God or enter the realm of Brahman. In the second chapter of this canto, this matter will be broadly discussed. But as far as the change of body is concerned, one must prepare now for the next life. Foolish people attach more importance to the present temporary life, and thus the foolish leaders make appeals to the body and the bodily relations. The bodily relations extend not only to this body, but also to the family members, wife, children, society, country, and so many other things which end at the end of life. after death, one forgets everything about the present bodily relations. We have a little experience of this at night when we go to sleep. We experience a kind of death every day, actually. Some people more than once a day. While sleeping, we forget everything about this body and bodily relations. Although this forgetfulness is a temporary situation for only a few hours. Death is nothing but sleeping for a few months. Sleeping a few hours or sleeping a few months. Death is nothing but sleeping for a few months in order to develop another term of bodily encagement, which we are awarded by the law of nature according to our aspiration. Therefore, one has only to change the aspiration during the course of this present body. And for this, there is need of training in the current duration of human life. Brahmacharya training. It begins with Brahmacharya training. This training can be begun at any stage of life, or even a few seconds before death. But the usual procedure is for one to get the training from very early life, from the stage of brahmacharya, and gradually progress to the grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas, orders of life. The institution which gives such training is called varnashrama dharma. Here it is. We didn't choose the purport. The institution which gives such training is called varnashrama dharma, or the system of sanatana dharma. It's very interesting. Very often, like here, Prabhupada will somewhat equate varnashrama dharma with sanatana dharma. And he will also translate varnashrama dharma, in one place very interesting, as divine culture. Divine culture. Very attractive concept, divine culture. But that divine culture is also an eternal culture. Which means, because Prabhupada is making this connection here, this connection between varnashrama dharma and sanatana dharma, it means that actually, the word sanatan, we know it means eternal. Eternal means it has always existed and will forever exist as well, eternal. That means that the system of varnashrama is not something that someone cooked up or created, as some people would have us believe. It is an eternal system based on eternal principles. What are those eternal principles? Varnashrama dharma is based on eternal principles of the three modes of material nature, which is described in the Bhagavad-Gita as prakriti, material energy, Prakriti is one of the four eternal principles described in the Bhagavad-Gita. Isvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala. And fortunately for all of us, karma is not eternal. Yeah. So this very important statement here, and there's a short portion that I left out of the sentence, but I'll start again from the beginning of this sentence. The institution which gives such training is called Varnasrama Dharma, or the system of Sanatana Dharma, the best procedure for making the human life perfect. The best procedure, the best system for making the human life perfect. One is therefore required to give up the attachment to family or social or political life just at the age of 50 years, 50, 55. If not earlier. And the training and the vanaprastha and sannyas asramas is given for preparation of the next life. It's so wonderful, actually. You know, it's like, okay, first 50 years you can kind of like, do different things. But the last two portions of your life, vanaprastha sannyas, that's it. You fix your mind on the goal. The goal is to get ready for eternal life, next life, spiritual body. Yeah. Foolish materialists in the garb of leaders of the people in general stick to family affairs without attempting to cut off relations with them, and thus they become victims of nature's law and, as a result, get gross bodies again, according to their work. Such foolish leaders may have some respect from the people at the end of life, but that does not mean that such leaders will be immune to the natural laws under which everyone is tightly bound by the hands and feet. So, foolish leaders are generally worshipped by foolish people. And so Prabhupada is telling, even if such foolish leaders are seemingly exalted and glorified and worshipped till the end of their life, that doesn't change the course of the laws of nature. But that does not mean that such leaders will be immune to the natural laws under which everyone is tightly bound by the hands and feet. Yes. This is what literally happens. We see in the Bhagavatam, in the story of Ajamil. Ajamil, although in the early portion of his life was a very pious, born in a Brahmana family, went to Gurukul, got married according to Vedic system, was happily married, but due to being neglectful, fell from that position, and for the rest of his life, maybe like 50, 60 years, was engaged in all kinds of sinful activities. And naturally, sinful activities means we develop very strong attachment to this body. We're totally on the bodily platform. And therefore, those who are on the bodily platform, because they identify with this body, they don't like the idea of leaving the body. They're extremely fearful. And so, for such persons, the agents of Jamaraj, as nicely described in the Bhagavatam, they come with their ropes, shining ropes, and they tie it around the neck and the hands and the legs, and they forcefully pull out the subtle body from the gross body. It's like pulling teeth, probably. Wisdom teeth, most difficult. So to avoid this, the best thing is, therefore, that everyone voluntarily give up family relations by transferring the attachment from family, society, country, and everything thereof to the devotional service of the Lord. It is stated herein that one should give up all desires for family attachment. Again and again, the Bhagavatam teaches and reminds us how family life, it is within family life that one develops the strongest attachment. Oh my son, oh my mother. Many years ago, we had the Bhakta program here in Mayapur many years ago. Very successful. And those, Mayapur being Mayapur, people just come. There was a competition, just like nowadays we have competition, how many book points, right? If you sell a big book, you get more points. Small book, medium, different, yeah. So, Danavir Maharaj was promoting, connected with introducing, he was overseeing, I think, new devotee programs in different places. And so he had developed a system of every time you make a new devotee and make a new Sikha, then you get some points. We were having 30 Sikhas a month. 30 devotees a month we were making at that time. That was, 1978, 79, like that. And so a few times, well, not a few times, one devotee, new devotee, because people, when they come in contact with this knowledge of Krishna consciousness and this lifestyle of Krishna consciousness and this prasadam of Krishna consciousness, they become very attracted. And sometimes just out of sentiment or emotion, people join, without maybe so much sound philosophical understanding. So anyways, this one boy had joined. Then many times they'll join without telling mommy and daddy, right? So this one Bengali boy had joined, and it probably happened more than one time. Anyways, one fine day, all shaved up and tilak and dhoti and chanting in ecstasy and kirtan and chanting his 16 rounds, everything. So one day when this was, regular activities, he'd been a devotee maybe a few months, then his mother comes down from Calcutta, I think. And, she came to know her son is in Mayapur. So she comes, and she's, like most mothers, very attached to her son. Anyways, she walks in the temple, and then, mothers are by nature very emotional. She starts, she recognizes her son, who looks very different, of course, now. And then he just melts. Ma! He runs to her, offers her the basin. Anyway, she takes him back home. Not back home, back to Godhead. I don't know, maybe he came back, but it happened many times. Other stories are there, but yeah. So it is stated herein that one should give up all desires of family attachment. One must have a chance for better desires. One should have a chance for better desires. Unless one associates with devotees, one doesn't know what are better desires. There's unlimited material desires are there, but none of them are better than the other ultimately, because they end up in a dead end. When we come in contact with devotees, when we come in contact with the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedic knowledge, then we actually come in contact with, otherwise, there is no chance of giving up such morbid desires. Material desires are called morbid desires. What's another meaning for, another word for morbid is like morbid. It has a very negative connotation, very like distasteful. Look up in your dictionary. Synonym. Morbid, very distasteful, very like dejected. Anyway, we'll give you a few seconds there.
How do you spell that?
M-O-R-B-I-D, morbid.
It's like horrible or awkward.
Horrible, awkward, yes.
Awkward.
Yes. It's on the negative side of things. Huh?
Unpleasant.
Unpleasant, yeah. Yes, morbid. Desire is the concomitant factor of the living entity. What is the meaning of concomitant? That's another big word here. Concomitant. Concomitant, since you have the dictionary open, concomitant means like connected with. It is like you can't separate desire from living entity. That's why Prabhupada mentions how the goal in Buddhist philosophy is to cut off all desire, to stop, to become desireless. Desireless, yeah.
Naturally accompanying or associated.
Huh?
Naturally accompanying
Naturally accompanied
or associated.
or associated, yeah. Integral. Integral is another, yeah. Desire is the concomitant, natural desire of the living entity. Living entity is eternal, and therefore his desires, which are natural for a living being, are also eternal. One cannot therefore stop desiring. Yeah. Shunyavad. Shunyavad means to stop, to become zero, to become desireless. But the subject matter of desires, the subject matter for desires can be changed. So one must develop the desires, what desires we should develop, for returning back home, back to Godhead. And automatically, the desires for material gain, material honor, and material popularity will diminish in proportion to the development of devotional service. A living being is meant for service activities, and his desires are centered around such a service attitude. service attitude. Prabhupada would explain this many times. How most important is not exactly the service that we are rendering, but it is the attitude, the mood, mentality in which we are rendering our service. And we're just a few lines here before the end of the purport. Beginning from the top executive head of the state down to the insignificant pauper in the street, all are rendering some sort of service to others. The perfection of such a service attitude is only attained simply by transferring the desire of service from matter to spirit, or how else would you say it? Prabhupada chose something very interesting here. The perfection of such a service attitude is only attained simply by transferring the desire of service from matter to spirit, or, on Christmas Eve especially, from Satan to God. Yeah, from Satan to God. So very appropriate for Christmas Eve. For the Christians, because they relate to Satan, so from Satan to Jesus, right? Yeah. Prabhupada says the Christians and the Muslims and the Jews and anyone who is actually glorifying the Lord, offering obeisances to the Lord, as they all do, they're all Vaishnavas. Sravanam, Kirtanam, not quite Vishnu Smaranam, but Sravanam, Kirtanam, Bandhanam, offering prayers, glorifying and chanting. These are all symptoms of Vaishnav. So Prabhupada says, in a broad way, they are also Vaishnavas. Different levels of Vaishnava like that. So a nice verse, a nice purport. We'll just end by reading the verse again. 15, right? Yeah. Antakale. Yeah. Translation: at the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death, but one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it, and all desires thereof. It is a lesson in how to become bold, actually bold. Our definition of bold is facing mrityu, death. Yeah. No time for questions today. We have a busy day today. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Sri Prabhupada ki. Gaur Pimanandi.